The Upstate Golf Guys podcast is brought to you by Golf Week Amateur Tour, New York to Upstate, a national tour for all golfers and skill sets in its 31st year. We represent the New York Upstate region, and to join, visit amateurgolftour.net and click Join Now for the best amateur golf tour in the country. David Cahill, with his beautiful home for rent in Saratoga Springs. This mansion is located on Airbnb. What a way to enjoy Saratoga with family and or friends on a vacation to golf, go to the horse track, or relax in this beautiful home. For more information, go online to Airbnb/H/mansion in Saratoga Springs for information. Northeastern Insurance Agency for all your insurance needs. Voted #1 insurance agency in the Capital Region in 2024 by the Times Union. For any insurance needs, call Jared at 518-956-3753. The Bunker Indoor Golf, located in over 7 locations across the Capital Region and host of our Golf Week Am Tour Winter League on Saturday mornings. From golfing on their state-of-the-art simulators or having a delicious meal with your friends or family, come on down and visit one of the Bunker locations. Visit them online, getinthebunker.golf. For more information of the Upstate Golf Guys podcast and their partners, visit upstategolfguys.com.
Welcome back to another episode of the Upstate Golf Guys podcast. Before we get things rolling here, I just want to give a shout out to a couple of my previous guests. First off, OBS, you're awesome over there. We love what you're doing with your IG page, growing it. OBS Plays Golf, give her a follow. And then her wonderful, super talented sister, Nicole, and her art. It was just really amazing to see. Go check that podcast out, OBS Plays Golf, if you have not heard it yet. And then, of course, my boy Chazo, who's doing his thing with the underground rap here in Upstate. It's another good listen. The Juiced Up Boys. Shout out, you guys. You're doing your thing over in Pennsylvania. Thanks for hopping on the pod a couple weeks ago. I didn't get to give you a shout out the last podcast, but it was a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to meeting up with you boys and getting around. And then last but not least, before we get the ball rolling, I need to talk about the Golfer Gang Network, which is the network that our podcast is under. I really don't talk about it much, but we had a little meeting with Jeff, the created the network. He's got a podcast of his own on there, and we're going to really try to start collaborating with everybody else and trying to get everybody, I'll have some of the network guys on my podcast. I'll be going on theirs. It's the Golfer Gang Network. There's over 20 golf podcasts, from golf pros giving tips to gambling tips. So there's a podcast for you. It's at golfergang.com. So be sure to check them out over there. But we have a special guest here. Special guest of my co-host Adam Cahill, and he invited him. So I'm gonna let Adam do the introduction to this one.
Okay, yeah. Well, I thought you meant me when you said a special guest, but no, that's fine. Yeah, I'm really excited for today's episode. It's an honor to have this particular individual on as a guest. I've known him for 41 years of my life. We grew up together. We shared the same home for quite some years. We have the same DNA, the same parents, and this guy, for years, he's been a great athlete since we were kids. He has a lot of background, a lot of history, a great upbringing, a lot of success. And, even though he wasn't as good as me in basketball, I mean, he can explain that to you. But to be honest, before I introduce him, I can say that, Stephen Curry of the Warriors really redefined the game when it came to three-pointers. But I remember growing up playing basketball, we were just shooting and you make it or you keep shooting until you miss. I really didn't shoot much because he made a lot. I call him like my Stephen Curry as a child, but it's an honor to have my brother Todd Cahill on the podcast today for the Golf Week Spotlight.
Welcome to the show, Todd.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor. I never got interviewed by my brother before. my little brother actually, but he's taller than me, and I'm actually 6'5", almost 6'6", and he's even taller than me. So I don't know where we get that in our DNA, that's for sure.
No.
But it's a great thing.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Yeah, so my brother, and I, we had, my mom is, I think 5'8", 5'9". I think now that she's 75, I think she's like 5'3" now. She lost a lot of inches, but our father passed, 4 years ago, and people growing up were always wondering, where did we get our height from? They always said we were adopted. I think my brother and my sisters used to say I was adopted all the time too. We're both pretty much, the Twin Towers, but.
Yeah.
Well, I joked, Todd. I joked with Adam, and don't take this the wrong way. But I told you before we recorded, you're a little better looking than your brother. I'm sorry, man. Sorry, Adam. I had to throw that out there.
It's fine. Yeah. But welcome to the podcast. First off, for the listeners, since you are our guest of the show. Just give us a little bit of a background of, your life and where you came from and what you, established through your success and, how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll keep it brief and then I'll look forward to some of your questions. But so my professional background for the past 2 decades, I've been a serial entrepreneur. I was born in Amsterdam, New York, just like my brother was, I think in the same hospital. Amsterdam Memorial. And then when I was 10, Adam was 7, we moved to Johnstown, New York. And we had like 5 acres. Probably 2 or 3 were usable. We had an in-ground pool, basketball court, football field. And that's where I think we both actually became lovers of golf, because we had, Adam would actually make golf kind of holes in our acreage and use the because we always had to do the chores to mow our lawn, and we'd kind of lower it on the green, make our own greens and stuff, and kind of the Olympics in our house, and really enjoyed that childhood from like 10 to 18. But my passion really was basketball. And like Adam referred to, I used to play either outside 5 hours a day after school. I got about 60 scholarship offers coming out of high school. But I ended up playing for Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, and also doing the decathlon and actually football. So I played 3 different sports in college, but ended up dropping out after 3 years. I read a very dangerous book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and it just came out back when I was about 19 or 20. And it was all about, assets versus liabilities. And I was starting marketing, and I really had a heart for entrepreneurship. It's not for everybody. Some people they love working for someone else and building a career, and that there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I was a rebel. I just really wanted to make it on my own. And luckily for me, I was introduced at Liberty to some really amazing, top-notch people, like a guy named Gabe Lyons, who went on to be a New York Times bestselling author, him and his wife, Rebecca, and they hired me to work for John Maxwell. So John Maxwell actually works a lot in the PGA now, developing leaders. He's a golfer himself, but he's the #1 person in the world, even today, on leadership. He's written over 100 books, New York Times bestseller. So I actually worked for him for 3 years, and that's where I got my leadership, in my early 20s, to learn how to lead and lead myself and develop leaders. And then I ended up being an entrepreneur ever since. And I've built businesses all over the world. We've had organizations and hundreds of thousands of people in all over different countries. And I wrote my own book in 2019 called You vs. You, the 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass and Win. It went on to become a bestseller. I've been on national television about it. And it's still to this day, it kicks my butt every day. Even I'm the author and I wrote it. It's such a hard book to write, because every day I got to master my routine and master my calendar, my dreams, and how I define success and my promises and keeping my word. And it's hard. We really have to battle within ourselves every single day, you versus you, especially on the golf game, because there is no bigger battle when it comes to sports, I think, in my opinion, than golf, because it is you versus you. It's literally how you think. It's how you approach the ball. It's how you are disciplined when no one's watching. It's not a illustrious sport like basketball is or football. I love the NFL. That's the only sport I really watch now. But I watch the NFL and the Masters in April. But I love the Masters. Yeah, but yeah, it's just something that I've really kind of built within myself because of sports, because of the golf, because of me and my brother just always competing against each other, and me always dunking on him. In fact, I got a full scholarship, and I'm the idiot who challenged him. It was the day before I left to my freshman year in Tennessee. I was a freshman at Chattanooga first before I transferred to Liberty. And we went to our Christian school, Perth Bible Christian Academy, which was me and him. I always had the keys to the gym. So I go up for a dunk. We're playing one-on-one, and I tore my meniscus. It was the stupidest thing I ever did. I had a red shirt my whole freshman year. I had a huge, I had to get surgery on it. It was just so stupid. So don't have an ego the day before you leave for college. But that's
I remember that. I still remember that when that happened. Like he went for the dunk and he fell on the ground and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't walk." And I had to like drag him over to the stairs where we had in the gym, and we had to call my mom, I think, or I drove you home. But then you had surgery, I think, the day or two later, and you were late getting to college because of that, and you had to sit out for the whole year as a redshirt. So it was awful. Literally the day before he was driving to Tennessee.
That's awful. That is terrible. Yeah, Brad actually, I had to bust on him because this happened a couple of years ago, but he missed a whole golf season due to tearing his whole Achilles. Scrounge, our buddy, playing hoops. And it's a tough game, man. It's a lot of jumping. A lot of. I never really played hoops, but man. I stick to golf and the lightweight games.
Sure.
I agree. Now I haven't touched a basketball since I was 25, but I won't. I just lift weights and work out kind of peacefully now. I don't want to tear anything else again. That's for sure.
There you go. Absolutely, man. So how long did it take you to write that book? Was it like a couple weeks, a couple of years? Was it a long process?
It was a very long process. When I was in 8th grade, I started reading the John Maxwell books because one of my teachers in the academy that me and Adam went to, his name was Brian Griffith. Back then we had like a Bible teacher, history teacher, all in one because it was like a Christian school. And, he just it was a success, the success journey by John Maxwell. But that's when I kind of started reading books and I really started to kind of dive into reading, but I wanted to be an author ever since I worked for John Maxwell himself. But it took me 5 years. I was actually living in Vegas at the time at the MGM, one of the years I wrote most of it. I just got divorced at the time. It was years ago. Because I have 3 kids. I have an 18-year-old, I have a son who's 16-year-old, and I have a 11-year-old daughter. My son lives with me. Actually, he's here. He's like a mini me. He's constantly working out. He's a stud. He's almost 6 foot already, but he's just bodybuilding. He's only 16. He looks terrific. He's famous on TikTok. He's got millions of followers, but millions of views. But anyway, writing a book is probably the hardest thing you'll ever do. I'm a published author, so I didn't self-publish it. So my dream was to be published. It's kind of like winning the Academy Award. It's hard to do, but one of the biggest dreams came true for me in 2019 because I love Barnes & Noble. Like Barnes & Noble changed my life. I was in Barnes & Noble in college. That's what made me walk away from college because I read that book at Barnes & Noble. I used to not have any money to buy the book, so I just go to Barnes & Noble even when I was in San Diego. Just to read a bunch of books and then leave, but I would get in trouble because you have to buy coffee at least. But I walked into Barnes & Noble in 2019 and my book was everywhere. And that was a dream come true. It was in not only Chicago, New York City, Manhattan, California. It was all over the country, and it was in Barnes & Noble for a year. And it might still be in Barnes & Noble and Target, but that was a dream come true. But it took me about 5 years to really write it, to have a writing team, and to really also be able to navigate how to get published and how all that works. But ever since it came out in 2019, I've been making money on it ever since. I built businesses around the you versus you mindset. Even what I do now, I coach people on that you versus you mindset, even though it's business to business and we work with corporate America people and stuff like that. I'm still an entrepreneur, but everyone needs that coaching, how to run their routine. Whether you're an athlete, a business owner, a stay-at-home mom, it's like you versus you. It's like, okay, I'm going to plan my day before it starts, my routine, my calendar, my dreams, defining success, because everyone has a different definition of success. Promises, doing what you say you're going to do, and also kind of having the spirit of entrepreneurship. I think all of us have inside of us some kind of spirit of entrepreneurship and kind of understanding, like even the world of Instagram and TikTok and social media. There's a billion ways to make money these days, but no one really makes money unless they hunker down on, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to be consistent at it. I'm going to show up every day, and really running with it and not getting attracted to the shiny object syndrome all the time like most people do. So I think all of us have some kind of entrepreneur spirit in all of us. That doesn't mean you have to be one, but I think we all have some kind of spirit within us to do it.
Yeah. Now, if you can explain to the listeners, growing up when you were young after you left college, Explain a little bit about how your life was. I know, you had some financial struggles, and what clicked in your mindset that changed your, the way that you looked upon, success. Because I know, just explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, I'll just share a story because I think stories sell, facts tell, right? I could tell facts all day, but stories will stick. So yeah, when I dropped out of school, I had to go back home and live with mom and dad for about 2 weeks. I don't know if you remember that, Adam.
Yeah.
I think you might have even been there. I'm not sure. It was
You had the blue Altima at the time, and
Yeah.
you were there for a few weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So I had a blue Altima, and that's the whole story. So our dad gave me about $500. I met two guys in New Jersey, and they were going to start a church in San Diego, and the church sounded awesome. And it was San Diego, and I'd never been to California. So they wanted me to come on board with my whatever leadership skill to work with the church. So I drove with $500 to my name to San Diego, and I lived on a futon with a bunch of guys that went to that church in their 20s. So I got a job as a personal trainer, and for about 8 months, I'd get up 5 in the morning, 6 at night, and I would train people. But then one day I woke up and my car was gone, and I was like, "Who stole my car? This is ridiculous! Like, oh my God, I got to call the cops." Well, it was repossessed. And I called my boss and told him I got fired. And then my cell phone shut off that same day. And then I look at my WAMU account. This was before 2008. Washington Mutual is no longer in existence, but it was I was negative $97 or something in my bank account because I bought 2 Red Bulls and then overdraft fee. So I had no job, no car, negative in my bank account. It was October. I think it was like October something of 2004. And that was my day of disgust. And that was it. So that was like the last day I had no money. And I don't know what happened. I can't remember, but a month later, I got introduced to this network marketing, but it was very professional. It was prepaid legal shield. It was like selling legal insurance. So I got involved in that, had no success for 6 months until it started clicking. And then I became the top 10 earner in the world for about 9 straight years. I walked on stages at the MGM Grand, Oklahoma City, the Dallas Maverick Stadium. I was the keynote speaker, and I just totally made millions of dollars. And then I went into another field, made more millions, went into another field. So it just kind of clicked. I think money is one of the most important things in our lives. And I think Adam has been in there, I've been there, especially when you have kids. I mean, I was single at the time, but when you have children even, and you lose your job, and that's why I believe the spirit of entrepreneurship. I mean, nowadays you could be making $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month easily, just on your Instagram, just learning, or ClickFunnels, or maybe you have an irresistible offer. And again, it's not for everybody, but people that struggle financially, I really have to question them these days, because there's a million different ways. And I get the confusion sometimes. People get confused, but I think you just have to have that day discuss that. Life sucks when you're broke. I mean, you can't golf, you can't buy clubs, you definitely can't play a game because golf is an expensive sport, or it can be. Yeah. So it's not the love of money. I'm not talking about the love of money, but I think being able to find your passion and being able to make money off the passion. I mean, that's the dream scenario. You're not even focused on money. You just find something that you can connect to, that you're good at, and then money will always come after that. And that's what we all want to do.
I mean, anybody that says money doesn't bring true happiness is lying. I'm sorry. Money does bring happiness. A lot of money does bring happiness, because again, you could go on trips, and you could go golf, you could go beautiful places. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
And no stress, man. I mean, I've been literally litigated again. Like, so many creditors calling me back then, and when your car is repossessed, you still have to pay it. I don't know if people know that.
Yeah.
You still have to pay, even though you have no car. So, I mean, like, I just know what it's like to hate my phone, be embarrassed. I got fired from that church, by the way, because of it. So that was embarrassing. Lost a lot of friends because of it. So, that's why I kind of wrote the book too. I'm also an actor, so I'm also going to be in a major motion picture this year with Academy Award winners, and I'm also producing it. It's called 9 Stories High, and that's been a dream come true. That's another story, but my passion actually is acting. That's my ultimate passion, is actually getting to acting. I'm 44, but my role, I'm going to be playing a character named Bruce. He's a hard-nosed, a former Marine stepfather of the main character, who has to really push him. And his father died in an accident, so I have to really be vulnerable. I'm in the whole movie, and Definitely out of my comfort zone, but I've just been fascinated by, Hollywood and movies and making movies that really matter. It's going to be on Netflix, by the way. And
all right, I'm excited for that, Todd. Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, even that was a dream, and I'm kind of a late bloomer because I'm 44. A lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to move to Hollywood in my 20s and work at a bar and try to get into Hollywood. Well, I did it a different way. I kind of networked through my way, and then executive producing this movie called 9 Stories High. But anyone can do anything. Even if you're 44, you can still pursue a dream. You just have to really know how to break that down.
And that movie that you are going to be in and producing, when we hung out in Myrtle Beach this past year, you mentioned that it was Jamie Foxx and the singer from Destiny's Child, right?
Yeah. So we have, we were able to, like, being a producer of the movie, we casted, like, I know how to cast people. I know how that all works with agents and everything like that. But we're in talks now with not only him and his team, but just a lot of other people. We already have our cast. Since it's actually close to being green lit and Netflix has already said yes to it, I have to kind of keep hush hush on it right now until it's official deadline. You'll see that on deadline, on Instagram. So once it's on deadline, then it's official. But it's going to be major stars, Academy Award winners. Yeah, and it's Netflix also agreed to it. They love the script, and that's where the money comes from. So, having money and getting investors, and we're talking millions. We're not talking little money. We're talking millions. But
that's amazing, Todd. That's awesome.
Yeah,
really excited for that.
Yeah, that's interesting too, man, because it's been 3 years. Going to Europe and getting casted myself, and also, waiting patiently for 3 years. It's not easy chasing your dreams, for sure.
No, yeah. I mean, I remember, going back to what he was saying earlier about that business he worked in marketing, the prepaid legal. I believe I was maybe 20 at the time, and I ended up getting in on it. And it wasn't until I went to Vegas for the national convention that they had, which was really fun. I remember I was invited out with you and your other guys, Josh Denny, and all of those guys, and we ended up getting in a Hummer limo and went out to the nightclub. And I know that's right. I was like 22, and I remember that night was when I got introduced to Grey Goose and orange juice.
Oh no!
And we were at the nightclub, and I was just it was like almost upsetting because as my brother, and we were being competitive. Seeing his success, and I think at the time I was just working just some mediocre job in Johnstown. Nothing was really going for my life either. And then seeing all the success, I almost resented him, but it was cool to see because of what he came, where he came from in his life, and being homeless and having his repossession. Now he's just making millions, and I was proud of him for it. And even now with running this golf tour. He probably doesn't realize it, but a lot of his life and his mindset and his leadership, and I even read his book. It really has helped bring a lot of success to the Golf Weekend Tour for the New York Upstate region through you and through your mindset and your leadership abilities, and through the podcast. I'm thankful for seeing his history and his success. And it's really helped me in growing this tour just by your leadership and your hard work. So I'm happy for the success he does have, and excited for that movie too, and just seeing his dreams come true, because I myself, my dream was to always play in the PGA Tour, and he wanted to be in the NBA. I always was the type of guy who was at home cooking while he was out shooting the basketball, and I would just come out, make a few, and walk in and drop mic drop on him. And, and now, I wish I played golf more in high school, but because he played basketball and Perth Bible didn't have a golf team, now I just want to use this golf tour to grow as a dream of mine, to use golf in my life to be successful in that. So, it's exciting to, start doing things that are out of the norm, but having success and using, your leadership abilities and, your advertising, your marketing, is great.
Todd, what are some more tips you got for Adam? Because he's just starting this thing. I mean, he's 3 or 4 years in, and we've been growing. About 100 members now. Give Adam, your brother, some more pointers.
No, I think I'm impressed. I mean, I didn't even know he had a podcast. And when he texted me over the weekend, I got so excited. I told her mom, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be on Adam's podcast. And I don't even have a podcast. So, I started one when my book came out 5 years ago. I want to start one eventually, but I like your podcast because it's not like a typical podcast. It's about golf, and you guys are expanding your brand and doing some great things in your community and stuff like that. I mean, the whole thing is like, you got to build community. I mean, I was watching the SAG Awards yesterday, the SAG-AFTRA Awards, Timothy Chalamet won Actor of the Year. That's all they talked about. So even in the acting community, when I went to Cannes Film Festival, they have an amazing community. Like, a lot of people like Hollywood is evil. It's not true, man. It's like saying golfers are evil. It's not true. There's some evil people in all realms of the world, but golfers need a community, because golf, if you look at golf, even with Donald Trump, The Art of the Deal, it's a great book. I don't know if you like Donald Trump or not, but the guy knows how to make a deal. Most of his deals back in the 80s and 90s in New York were on the golf course.
Yeah.
So like, the golfing is not just a sport where you smoke a cigar and drink some beer or some Pepsis. It's a way to network. It's a way to get to know, and not even just business, but really community and friends that are lifelong friends. So I think Adam just needs to, the best advice is just stay consistent at it. Don't give up. He's very good at golf. So that's what he's good at. So Adam, stay focused. And don't let any shiny object get in your way, and also have massive integrity when you're dealing with money, when you're dealing with other people's funds, and just make sure everyone's paid out, everyone's good, and it's and make some money too. Make money.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with making money, and when you're adding value to people. And then the podcast, just keep going, keep bringing in great guests. And the more bigger your guests are, the more opportunities people are going to have to watch you and to maybe pick up the game of golf. I mean, if I listen to a podcast, if I haven't played golf in a while, and your podcast makes me want to go out and play golf, then hell yeah, that's probably one of the best podcasts out there.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Perfect words.
Yeah,
perfect
and,
words.
that's one thing that the tour. I started this when we were in Myrtle Beach when Dad died. I was out there, as you were aware, for 5 months working from home at Mom's. And, the thing that made it exciting is that, obviously my dad was a great individual. But being out there, I introduced myself to the Golf Week tour by just Googling, tours in Myrtle Beach, and I ended up playing it. And, when that opportunity came where I asked at the end, I said, how do you get one in New York? Because I knew, this would be something that I would really love to do. He says, start it. And I was like, okay. And sure enough, it was that following January, I started it. And, since that time, I just been, having integrity about it, just persistent, hard working at it. And we've had a lot of success in 4 years. And that's what I love about this tour is, like you said, it's just that camaraderie. It's that community of golfers that we have. I mean, all the friends that we've established over 4 years, I still talk to them. We're hanging out. We're going to trips together. We're staying in hotels together. We're talking. We're texting. It's just, that's one thing that I'm glad you brought up, because it is a community. Yeah, you might have a few bad eggs, but eventually you just hold to the positive things, and that's why we've been having a lot of success in New York, and we're excited for the year, and so on.
Yeah, I'll tell you what,
and that's the thing about men too. So women. Again, women play golf, and I'm sure you include women in all this, but I'm just saying women are actually better at men at community naturally. But men, definitely even me speaking, because I've been an entrepreneur, especially working from home, it's not easy to find other men that are cool and, they love what you love and all that cool stuff. So I like what you guys are doing, because you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with most. So if the 5 people you're hanging out with most are super sharp, business-minded, golf-minded, they love what you do, they're competitive, they're good people, like you become better. I think sports is the difference maker. I don't care if you're in France, Brazil, Colombia, like of course Europe and all that is soccer or football, but golf is also a universal game all over the world. So like you can bring so many people together on the golf course. Beautiful. I mean, I live in Tampa, so I mean, obviously it's usually nice all the time. You can golf all year round, but even with Myrtle Beach stuff, like even in New York, you can connect with other people in other states. And then even in your winter time, you can come down here and you have communities all over the country, because the game speaks universally. And it is a very romantic game, especially like movies like Bagger Vance with Matt Damon and Will Smith. Like there's so many good movies in the golf genre. So it's just like baseball. It's a very romantic game. And meaning it's just kind of a beautiful game. There's a lot that has to go in it for someone to get a hole in one. There's a lot that has to go in it for someone to birdie for the first time. You don't just get lucky on the golf course. I mean, maybe rarely, but even our grandfather, I'm sure Adam told you this, but he died when he's like 98. But 3 weeks before he died, he got a hole in one.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it was like in his late 90s. So he was playing.
I actually have that trophy. I have it at my house right now. Pop's trophy where he got a hole in one. Yeah, I think he was like 94 or 95. Yeah, but still,
we saw him play up into his death. I mean, he was a baller. I mean, he was married for 75 years to our grandmother. I mean, he was just always in shape, and I think he was even more than my father. He was my role model. He was just always in shape, very successful, just such a good husband and a great grandfather, but always just on the golf course. He was the first one to get us out of bed. Let's go, tee time, let's go, guys. And I was like, I don't want to get up, It's like, but once we get out there, we were always competing against our older grandfather, me and Adam. And
I remember going over his house at Fort Johnson. He would my grandpa would be the guy who had his little like yellow stationary exercise bike. And in his little TV room, he had like VHSs of all these videos that he recorded off the TV and tips. And my grandpa would be the guy who bought everything online, on the TV back then, like the new wedge, the new driver. True. And he was always practicing, going out. That's where I learned how to play golf. I was always self-taught, but he really got me into it. Yeah. Because my dad would take a practice swing and do the the helicopter around his head, and he would just swing and go. But my grandpa, he was very dedicated. Even Uncle Stan, our Uncle Stan, who's now in his mid 80s. I mean, he was the same way. He just plays the game of golf. And growing up, my brother and I, with my cousin Darren and my Uncle Stan, we used to have family reunions, and we had little battles between family. And these guys were dedicated. Except my Uncle Stan was always annoying because he always had a towel. So he would always bring up a towel to the green, and he would have like a par putt, but he would like wipe his ball. Yeah, he would just take his time. My dad always hated it. He'd always yell. But growing up like that through my grandpa and my uncle is where I really learned dedication, not only in life but through the game. I'm sure like my brother said, my grandpa was a role model, and he is. I mean, even today, I think a lot about my grandpa and his 75 years of marriage, and some of the tips he even told me when I was a young lad.
Yeah, the worst story though, and I got to share this to your listeners. The worst story ever. I know you're probably not going to believe me, but I don't know why my grandfather did this. But when I was in third grade, he gave me a baseball, and Babe Ruth signed this baseball. And it was an authentic baseball because in the 20s, he was a Western Union delivery boy in New York City, and he delivered it to Babe Ruth, and he had a ball signed by Babe Ruth and everything. It had a red and blue stitching on the baseball. And I brought it in to school, and I showed my third grade friends, and I got made fun of. So I had him come in and say, this is an authentic ball. So a couple years later, I just thought, I guess it's not. So we used it for batting practice.
Oh, no.
And when my friend hit it at our house, and I look back on that. First of all, I'm mad at him because why would he give it to me at third grade, idiot? I should have got it given to me when I was in 25 because he died when I was like 30 something. But man, that was an authentic. He wouldn't lie about that. But yeah, he really was a Western Union delivery in the 20s. But anyway, that was a huge regret of mine. But yeah, me and Adam learned how to cuss and swear with our other uncle, Uncle Al.
Yeah, Uncle Al.
Everything he would do was like mother effer, and that's when we kind of learned at a young age to maybe not act like that on the golf.
I remember Uncle Al doesn't play as much. He can't play now, but I remember playing with Uncle Al. We used to make fun of him because even Eric and Chris and Darren, his sons. My Uncle Al would be that guy on the golf course where his pre-routine before he swung probably was like a minute and a half. He would approach the ball, he would walk back, he'd look, he'd swing, he'd go back. And Darren would always be like, come on, Dad, hit the damn ball.
and then when he hit it, it was so bad. And he's like, son of a bitch.
Chucking his gloves and everything.
What was the point of us waiting for that? So don't be that.
Family of golfers. I love it, man. I love to hear it. That's so awesome. It's awesome.
Yep.
Listen, Todd, I want you to hear how awesome your brother is at an ad read because the dude absolutely kills it. We have a couple awesome sponsors. So let's give our sponsors a quick shout out and we'll be back to wrap this up.
Hey there, golfers. Before we dive back into the podcast, I want to take a quick moment to talk about someone who's got your back both on and off the course. Jared Lozier with the Northeastern Insurance Agency. Whether you're running a golf business, managing a pro shop, or just looking to protect what matters most in your personal life, Jared and his team at Northeastern Insurance have you covered. From business insurance to personal policies, they'll help you find the right coverage at the best value. Here's a pro tip for all you golfers out there. Make sure your golf clubs are protected too. Jared can help you add them to your home or personal articles policy so you're covered in case of loss, theft, or damage. Because let's face it, replacing your favorite driver isn't cheap. So next time you're looking to upgrade your coverage or need expert advice, give Jared Lozier a call at 518-956-3753 or shoot him an email at jaredl@nemail.com. Swing into better protection today.
All right, we are back with Todd Cahill, author and
Movie star.
Yeah, I was going to say movie star, but yeah, that's
next time
so
Cruise.
awesome. That's so awesome,
Brad
man.
Pitt.
So Todd, if for the guys on the Golf Week tour, if they were to read your book, how is it going to help some of the guys out? Because we're going to be posting the link to the book here under this podcast.
I appreciate it. I mean, it's going to help their golf game a lot. It's going to help their marriage, their relationship. So what I did with the book, I broke down 12 battles like people face, like you versus your health. So for instance, with golf, if you don't, so kind of the battles marry each other. So let me give an example. So I'm very healthy. So I watch what I eat. I work out every day. So I need to, and I even use ChatGPT a lot. So if I can get in the mindset of like, I need to eat this many calories a day, this is what my workouts look like, and you can customize them in your golf game. Well, you need to get an established routine, but then also that drives your calendar. So if you have a calendar, okay, I'm playing golf here. I'm doing the routine every day. I'm getting healthier. I'm getting more flexible. These are the workouts that I'm doing. And then while I'm doing it, I'm going to listen to something that even is positive, like a podcast or a golf podcast, or even the visualization of getting my game down to, less and less strokes, right? Eventually down to par, whatever their goal is, or handicap, whatever. So again, it could be great for their game, but also their relationships. Listen, how many of you have been on the golf game, but your wife or your girlfriend is like blowing you up because she's so mad at you because you didn't kiss her good morning? I don't know. It's like you got to take care of those loved ones because it also can hurt your golf game. It's the same with me being as an actor. It's just less drama, the better. So it's just kind of seeing problems before they start. And then also being able to overcome these obstacles, because like Ryan Holiday, he wrote a great book. I have it. It's called The Obstacle is the Way. Like I'm reading this now. The Obstacle is the Way. Sold over 1 million copies. And that's exactly, again, the obstacle is the way. So again, in golf is a perfect kind of analysis of life. It's like a metaphor. It's like if I'm on a par 3, par 4, I see the water, I see trees, I see it verge to the right. That's called obstacles, right? Yeah. So even in life, you have all these obstacles where a lot of people are afraid of the obstacles. So like, well, I don't want to hit it too far because I'm afraid of it. Yeah, but if you can stop being afraid of the water, if you can stop being afraid of these obstacles, even in your golf game, it's going to make you more confident. And sure, sometimes it'll get get on the green, and sometimes it won't. But at least you say, you know what? Why was I so afraid of that obstacle when I just blew past it? And that's what life is. Life is filled with a bunch of obstacles, and all you need to do is find the solutions. But what I found through my research, it took me 5 years of research and everything, is it all starts in here. The 6 inches between your ears, your brain. This is the you versus you. This is how, again, golf is 90% psychological and 10% physical. I mean, you got to have the mindset, and that's what makes the greats the great. It's not because they have a six pack and the other one doesn't. It's not because they have bigger muscles and the guy that didn't win the Masters had no muscles, especially in the game of golf. I mean, look at John Daly, for instance. I love John Daly. But man, what a winner he is, even though he doesn't care about health and wellness. Okay. He's drinking 29 Diet Cokes every day with Kid Rock. Okay. But again, he probably has a better mindset than most people. That's why he still wins. So it's just, that's where it starts. And then everything kind of follows that, just addressing, okay, what are my battles? You're not going to go through 12 battles in one day, but we're all going to go through those 12 battles. And even in the golf game, like, you can't just focus on golf all the time, because, if you define success properly and healthy, you have to have some kind of balance, especially if you're married, if you have children. I've seen people get divorced because they love golf too much, because their wife is golf. So you have to have that balance too, no matter what that is. It could be anything in life, especially if you have a family and stuff like that. Now, if you're single, you can do whatever the heck you want. But I'm just saying, like, some of your listeners are going to be married and stuff, and you want to have your spouse excited that you're playing golf, maybe to get out of the house or whatever, but you don't want them to resent you because that's all you do, and you're just one dimension.
Well, I can't wait to get my hands on this book, and I'm sure my wife will appreciate me getting my hands on this book by the sounds of it. Make me a little bit of a better husband.
Yeah, it's really good.
A better dad,
Yeah, for sure.
You could always use some good pointers. Awesome, man.
Yeah, and the one thing I like what he said too is, golf is that particular game where one of my moments of my golfing life, I always remember my grandpa when I was younger. I said, I can't hit that club because there's water there, and he goes, "What water?" And he's like, just act like there's no water. Just take it out of your visual. Don't think about it. And even to this day, we'll got out there and play with some of the guys on our tour, and like, and I was like, because that's it. It's in my brain. Every time there's a whole obstacle, I look above it. So I think Tiger Woods said that when you have a par 3 with water, just look at the top of the flag, because then you won't see the water and you'll hit a great shot. And it doesn't mind you. And
so that's a great point, and that's just changing your perspective. I mean, it could be literally that simple. Is if you have an obstacle in your life, maybe instead of focusing all on the obstacle, I love that you're just kind of overlooking it. You're like looking past it, and you're shifting your perspective, and immediately it shifts your attitude.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's really good to see. I mean, I even talked about that to my wife today in regards to, what you mentioned about, just making sure your focus is obviously on family, not just focusing on one individual, because there's been a few girlfriends and stuff in my life that, I started playing golf, this, golf, that, and it got to the point where they resented me, and my relationships ended because of golf. And, looking back, I'm okay with it, but, I never understood it until I understood it with my wife now, and it is important to obviously have somebody who is supportive of you and, cares about what you do, which is great. I mean, my wife has been phenomenal since I started this tour. She allows me out, for a long period of time to make sure it runs properly and get my practice in. But the first thing I do when I get home is I put the clubs away and say, okay, now what are we going to do together? And, I talk a little bit about it, but I like to, just shut my golf mindset down and, hang out. And, for that, she respects it, and she's been great. So,
just play card games with her and then talk smack there, because she loves.
Yeah, that's right.
She loves when I play with her and I talk smack to her, and then she still beats me. So
that's funny, because when we were all hanging out in Myrtle Beach, whenever I go to my mom loves board games. That's her life. I mean, we had a camp in Lake George where all we did was play games, and it gets nasty, some of these games. I think we played base 10 over at the Myrtle Beach house, and it was intense. It was real intense.
Your wife's fun to talk smack to in a respectful way. No, she's great. She's been really good for you. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes, actually, because even me, I'm like, Mom, he's golfing again. like, how is this guy married? So, like literally every day when I'm with him in Myrtle Beach, like he's gone every morning, like for 4 or 5 hours. So he is very consistent, with his golf game. Like he's always, disciplined. Even if he goes to bed 1 or 2 in the morning, like he's already gone before 7 in the morning. So he's always consistent in his golf game. I've seen that. But yeah, his wife's great for him. So, I mean, it's also picking the right person too. And again, not being afraid to go after your dreams and goals, even if it's golf. And Adam, one day, you got to get to the PGA Tour. I mean, if I can be in a movie without having any acting experience and be in a major motion picture, then you could be in the PGA Tour.
Never too late. Keep grinding, baby.
Maybe I'll be on the seniors tour too. Play with Tiger when he's old and barely walk at that point. But
yeah, you never know. Never know. Todd, so before I let you go, I want one good funny story about Adam. It doesn't have to be sports related. Give my listeners something good to laugh about when you guys were kids. Something anything get in trouble or
no, it's pretty crazy. So I had a babysitter, and her name was Barb Wood. She's still alive, and she was a pastor. She's our pastor's wife. And me and Adam, my mom was always a working mom. She was selling insurance and everything, doing Mary Kay in the 80s. So this was in the 80s. So I literally was looking outside. Adam is by himself in his diapers, and because he's right there, and he just looks down at the pavement, and he bangs his head on the pavement. He still has a scar on his head.
Yeah, I got it right here on my left side. I literally
just watched him. He just bangs his head, and then we had to rush him to the hospital. And even I think I was like 8, and I was thinking, what the heck is this idiot doing? Like why would he do that? So I still don't know this day what made him just bang his head on the pavement where he has a huge scar. But that's kind of a funny but weird story that I saw him with my own eyes do that.
That is wild.
I still have it on my left eye, above my left eyebrow, and
he's probably like 3 or 4 years old. I just how can he?
And after doing that, the kid still has 9 hole-in-ones. Like 9 hole-in-ones.
That's it. That's it. It got me going like that movie Rook of the Year. I just need to smash my head. I remember. There's I don't know what it was, but my brother was always to himself. He was very shy growing up. And I was always the guy who was outspoken. And, there was a point where I told you in a podcast before that we were on vacation and I was like 9 years old and I met some mid-aged man in a pool and I started talking to him and we were hanging out and they had no idea where I was. My mom comes down and be like, what are you doing? Because I'm hanging out with my new friend. I don't know. I was innocent, I was mid-age, but, my brother would go to a store and he couldn't pay for, his soda at the register. So he was very shy. So seeing him now is crazy. But, there was a lot of weird things as a kid that I did. I remember we watched a movie one time when we were young. And I think throughout the entire movie, at the end of the movie, I had 5 teeth that I just pulled out of my mouth. I think it was Aladdin or something, but I go, Mom, look, I got a bunch of teeth for money tomorrow.
That was when you were like, because Maya just went through that when she was 7. She literally pulled her 2 front teeth out the same day. So that was like when you're still probably when I
was trying to get that money for lunch or something at school. I don't know.
I have an 8-year-old, so yeah, I just went through all the teeth coming out.
Now, one thing I was going to ask you earlier, Todd, is give a little bit of the listeners a little bit of your kids. Give us their names and what they're up to. I know, your oldest is, amazing at art, and Aiden and Olivia, what are they up to now?
Yeah, so I have really good kids too, especially coming from a divorced, family. In fact, I think me and my son are starting a podcast about how to have a great relationship with your son when, after divorce. But I got divorced 12 years ago. But my oldest daughter, Olivia, she got a scholarship to Belmont University. So she's in her freshman year. She has straight A's, 100%. I don't even know how she does it. She also works a job, just a sweetheart, just really a perfect daughter. I couldn't ask for a better daughter than Olivia. And then my second son is 16 and a half. He's here living with me full time in Tampa. He's a stud. I mean, he works. He's just like me. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a stud, but as far as his work ethic goes, it's crazy. He never misses a workout. He eats 5 to 6 meals a day. He takes his vitamins. He's so focused on health and wellness. And I'm homeschooling him. And then I have 11-year-old who's a really good gymnast. She's actually one of the top gymnasts in all of the state of Illinois at 11 years old. Her name is Arabella. So really proud of my kids. A lot of them are disciplined. So I've seen kind of good qualities come out on them. And then of course, me and their mom have a pretty good relationship. Like it's not like horrible or anything like that. So they, one lives in Illinois, one lives in Nashville, and then one of course lives with me. But my plan is by August, we're all going to be moving to Franklin, Tennessee. And Franklin is where it's at, man. It's like this, a lot of celebrities live there. It's like Beverly Hills meets the ranch and the country. It's like mansions everywhere, but tons of acreage, tons of horse farms and ranches everywhere. And it's a very magical place about 30 minutes outside of Nashville. Knolls and little hills, but just beautiful land everywhere with horses and stuff. So we're all planning on moving there to be closer to Livia, come August. So I'm blessed, man. Like it could have gone way opposite than that, being like divorced and stuff. And I think my daughter was 10, no, she was 8 when we divorced, and my son was only 6. So I haven't had full custody until now, which is like 10 years later. So really kind of cool to really, be with him every day. He could see my work ethic. We're working out together. We're, filming together. He's filming me. I'm filming him. We're, creating some social media buzz together. So it's really fun, man. And if anyone listening to this is a father, whether they're divorced or married or whatever, it is the most important job, right, Anthony? I mean, it's the most important job you can ever have. And if you're golfers, I think it's important to take your child, even if, of course, especially if it's a daughter. I think there's nothing better than having a daughter-father relationship, because my first child was a daughter, and that really changed me. It made me a little bit more empathetic, a little bit more loving, because I was really hard-nosed in my 20s. Like I was like, I don't give an F. Like my dreams are get the hell out of my way. But when I had my daughter, I became kind of mature, and I'm such a daddy's girl. Like I love having daughters.
Me too. Listen, I'm so soft. I have an 8-year-old daughter, a 3-year-old daughter, then my wife, and then I have 2 female cats. So I am.
You're a girl dad.
I mean, girl, everything. But I wouldn't want it any other way. I really wouldn't. And it's funny you say that about the golf father-daughter thing, because I was a little heartbroken because Maya does not want to play softball this year. But she said, "But you know what I would like to do more is play golf with you." So it was kind of one of those, she doesn't want. I had a lot of fun playing. I was coaching her in softball, so it kind of broke my heart a little bit. She played the last 2-3 years, but she was just kind of not into it this year. We wasn't looking forward to it as much. So I've never been the dad that's going to force anything. I said, you have to do something. So she's going to do, her cousin does karate. So she's going to learn karate, which I think is great. And then, the golf, which is awesome, which makes me happy.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah. You just transfer coaching. That's all you do.
That's it, man. That's it. But all right, listen, Todd, I don't know if Adam has anything else that he wants to talk about with you. I know he has a notepad here that with some questions, but no, it was a great time. It was a great time, and I know your time is valuable and hanging out with us and everything. I hope I get to meet you someday. I mean, I don't know if you're ever going to come out in this area, or maybe we'll get down to Myrtle Beach, down at Mom's neck of the woods, and get around it or something. Who knows? But it would be definitely awesome to hang out with you one of these times. And I really respect your brother. What he's doing for the tour and the golf community around here. Golf, I tell a lot of people, saved my life in many ways. Just I was depressed in many ways, and I changed, the golf and the podcast just kind of really fixed things for me. So Adam is a special friend of mine, and he speaks highly of you. So thank you for coming on, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you some more, man, for sure.
Yeah. And those listening, get that book, You Versus You.
I'm gonna, and actually, that's what I meant to say. Tell all my listeners where they could find your book and all of your socials and everything. Give you a follow.
Well, yeah. So first of all, the book's just on Amazon. So you just put in You Versus You, Todd Cahill. You'll find it right away. In fact, what's interesting is I thought there's going to be a lot of books about You Versus You. There's really not. I was the only one. So that's interesting, isn't it? And so You Versus You on Amazon. And then I'm on Instagram, just Todd Michael Cahill. It's about 250,000 followers. That's
it. Oh, okay.
Accounts, but that's my real account, verified account. It's just Todd Michael Cahill.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to have to go give you a follow. And if you could just give me a share on your story once this episode goes out to maybe get some of your followers some listens, that would be awesome, my man.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Happy to promote you guys in any way. And it's great to see, the impact my brother's making. I mean, Adam, proud of you for following your passion, and then also kind of creating a business, around that passion, podcasting, media, social media, like all that stuff that goes into it. It's not easy. It's not like, oh yeah, that's no problem. Like he said, it took him 4 years and he's just getting warmed up. So that's consistency. So good job on that. Proud of you guys.
Yeah. And then, I know mom, I wouldn't, it's funny because you mentioned that my mom, you talked to her, and I actually texted her too. And I said, hey, guess what? I'm getting Todd on the podcast. And she goes, oh my goodness. And she's right now on a cruise to Hawaii.
Yeah.
She's traveling like all the time. And she was hoping that we were on Facebook Live, but she was excited that you were on. And again, I appreciate you taking this time. And again, I appreciate you, doing so well in your life that, I learned a lot from you, and I hope that, you continue to have success. And, I'm going to, continue to be a leader and use, because I read your book a few times, and, it really has changed my life. And for those who read it, it's really good. And I appreciate all your hard work to allow me to be a better person and tour director for the Golf Week Am Tour as well. So, again, thanks.
Absolutely. All right, Todd. Have a great night, man, and thank you for all the listeners for tuning in to another episode of the Upstate Golf Guys podcast.